Welcome to From Dorms to Desks, job hunting tips for those early in their careers, a podcast brought to you by College Recruiter job search site, which believes that every student and recent grad deserves a great career, and hosted by Work Defined. Join our AI co-hosts as they dive into tips, tricks, and insights that will help you land your next part-time, seasonal, internship, or entry-level job. Let's get your career started.
Okay, I want you to mentally put yourself in a very specific, very uncomfortable place. You're sitting in a beige room, or maybe you're just in your kitchen staring at that little green light on your laptop. You've been talking about yourself for 45 straight minutes. You are, dehydrated.
Oh, yeah.
You've explained your biggest weakness in a way that makes it sound like a strength, which is exhausting in itself. You've navigated the salary question. You think you're in the clear.
And then comes the silence.
Yes, the shuffle. The interviewer looks at their notes, maybe checks the time, and they hit you with the closer. Well, that covers our list. Do you have anything else to add? It is the most awkward, open-ended prompt in the English language.
It's the absolute worst time to improvise, yet that is exactly what most people try to do.
Right. My brain just flatlines. I just want to get out of there. I usually say something brilliant like, nope, I think we're good, thanks. And then I scramble to find the leave meeting button.
And that is exactly where you are leaving money and, the job offer right on the table.
See, that kills me because I feel like I've done the work. I ran the marathon. Why do I have to sprint past the finish line?
Right.
But we are diving into a source today that says this specific moment, this fading out where we just try to escape the awkwardness, is actually the single biggest wasted opportunity in the whole hiring process.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're looking at a very timely piece from College Recruiter called Closing Statement Template You Can Use to End Your Interview on a High Note.
Okay.
But before you tune out thinking this is just another, generic how to interview listicle, you have to look at the date stamp.
It's from January 21, 2026.
Correct. And that context changes everything. This is not advice for 2015. This is advice for a job market that has become incredibly specific about what it values.
Let's talk about that for a second because 2026 feels, intense. We've got AI integration in basically every sector. Remote work is this weird hybrid normality, and the competition feels different. The source makes a really big deal about decisiveness.
Decisiveness and human value. Those are the two pillars here.
Human value. Yeah. It sounds a little dystopian when you say it like that. Like we're just commodities.
In a labor market, we are commodities. But the source is arguing that the type of commodity employers want has shifted. They don't just want a doer anymore. Algorithms do. They want a stabilizer.
Okay, so the premise of this deep dive is that we're going to deconstruct this specific closing statement template from the article. But this isn't just about memorizing lines, right? Because I hate scripts.
Oh, God, no.
I sound like a hostage video when I read scripts.
No, please don't memorize it word for word. That completely defeats the purpose. The goal isn't to sound like a robot. The goal is to prove you aren't one. It's about understanding the psychology behind it.
Okay.
Think of the interview as a sales pitch. You spend an hour showing them the car, kicking the tires, talk about the horsepower. The closing statement is...
Asking for the sale.
Exactly. If a car salesman just said, well, thanks for stopping by, have a nice day, and just walked back into the office, you'd probably leave.
Yeah.
You need to ask for the keys. You need to close.
But here is where I get a little skeptical. The source highlights this concept of stability being the ultimate closer. It says, and I'm quoting here, mentioning long-term and stability is music to a recruiter's ears right now.
It is.
But isn't that, boring? I mean, for the last 10 years, all I've heard is be a disruptor, be dynamic, move fast, and break things. If I go in there and say, I want stability, do I sound like I'm ready to work, or do I sound like I'm just looking for a place to hide?
That is a very valid fear, but you have to look at the market reality the source is describing. Recruiters in 2026 are, frankly, terrified.
Terrified of what?
Turnover,
Yeah.
the churn. The cost of hiring has skyrocketed. The complexity of onboarding in these hybrid tech-heavy environments is just massive. If they hire you and you leave in 6 months because you got bored or found a cooler gig,
They just lit a pile of money on fire.
they just lit $50,000 on fire.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they aren't looking for a rock star who burns out. They're looking for an anchor.
Precisely. The source explicitly mentions that the fear of a candidate leaving quickly is the number one pain point you need to address. So when you signal stability, you aren't saying, I'm lazy. You're saying, I am a safe investment. You are de-risking yourself for them.
De-risking. I like that. It frames it as a business decision, not, a personality trait. Okay, so we know the mission, prove we're safe, prove we're human, and ask for the job. The template has 4 parts. Let's break down step 1.
This is what I'd call the listening check.
Okay, so the script the source gives is, thank you again for your time today. I really enjoy learning more about the team and how you're approaching mention a specific challenge or project they discussed.
Now look at that bracketed part. That is the only part that really matters.
Mention a specific challenge.
Yes, this is where most people completely fail because they stop listening.
Oh, I'm so guilty of this. 100%. About halfway through an interview, especially if it's going well, I start mentally planning my victory lap. Or I'm thinking about the next answer. I'm nodding, but I'm not actually retaining the details of what they are saying about their problems.
And that is why this step is a litmus test.
Yeah.
If you could fill in that blank with something specific, not just, I loved hearing about your culture, which is just fluff, but I loved hearing how you're handling the API migration delay, you prove you were present.
It proves active listening.
It proves you can process information in real time. And it validates their stress. You are effectively saying, I heard your problem, and I am still interested.
That's a good point. A lot of candidates probably hear the problems and get scared off.
Totally.
By repeating it back, you're leaning in.
Exactly. You are turning the dynamic from interviewer judging candidate to 2 professionals discussing a shared challenge.
Okay, so we've established we have ears and a brain. Step 2. This is where the source gets really specific about the 2026 of it all. The human value pitch.
This is my favorite part of the framework.
The script goes, based on our conversation, I am even more confident that my background in your major field and my ability to mention a human-centric skill would allow me to provide real value to your team.
Human-centric skill. That's the phrase to really pay attention to.
Is that just a fancy way of saying soft skills? Because I feel like soft skills kind of gets a bad rap.
It does, but I think the stakes are higher now. The source argues that candidates need to remind employers they bring skills that, and this is a direct quote, technology cannot easily replace.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate here. In 2026, technology can do a lot. It can code, it can write copy, it can analyze data sets in seconds. So what is left? What is a skill technology can't easily replace that I can actually pitch without sounding like I'm grasping at straws?
The source gives 2 really specific examples, complex problem solving and project management.
Okay, but an AI can manage a project schedule. It can solve math problems.
But can it solve people problems? Complex problem solving, in this context, doesn't mean solving a hard equation. It means the client is angry, the supply chain is broken, and the marketing team hates the engineering team. Fix it.
Right.
That requires nuance. That requires empathy. That requires reading the room.
That's the human part.
Right. An AI can optimize a supply route. It cannot negotiate with a frustrated vendor who feels disrespected. When you pitch complex problem solving as your value add, you are telling the recruiter, I can handle the messiness that your software can't.
Hi, I'm Carmen Hudson. I'm the host of the Recruiting Book Club, and we're starting our 2nd season. I'm so excited to bring to you another set of guests of recruiters who have written books. We are excited to have some very special guests this season. We've got Shally, we've got Craig Fisher, James Ellis, and quite a few other people that we're going to bring on board to tell us about what they wrote, why they wrote it, and maybe we'll veer off into a conversation about recruiting on all types of topics and subjects that happen in our industry. So I hope you can join us. I'm excited.
So you're explicitly positioning yourself against the automation. You're saying, hire me for the things the bots are bad at.
Exactly. If your closing pitch is, I work really fast, you lose. The computer works faster. If your pitch is, I can navigate ambiguity and lead a team through a crisis, you win. That is the premium skill in 2026.
I love that distinction. It makes project management sound a lot cooler than just moving tickets around on a, Trello board. It's about being the glue.
It's about being the adult in the room.
Yeah. So we've proven we listened, and we've proven we're human. Step 3, the commitment. This loops right back to that stability conversation we had earlier.
The I'm not going to leave clause.
The script is, I am looking for a company where I can build a solid foundation and stay for the long term, and it sounds like company name offers exactly that kind of stability.
Boom. Music to their ears.
Okay, but can I push back again? Does this ever come off as desperate? I just want a foundation. I'll stay forever. Please let me in. It feels like proposing on the first date.
It can, sure. It all depends on your delivery. But think about the alternative. If you play it too cool, oh, I'm looking for my next challenge. I love new adventures. what the recruiter hears is,
I'm going to get bored.
I'm going to get bored in 6 months and leave you to start this whole hiring nightmare over again.
So you think the risk of sounding desperate is lower than the risk of sounding flighty?
In this specific market,
Yeah.
absolutely. And notice the phrasing. It sounds like company name offers that kind of stability. You are complimenting them. You aren't just begging for a job. You are identifying a shared value. I want a home. You look like a good home.
It's a partnership framing.
It's mutual de-risking. You're saying, I'm going to invest my time in you if you invest your money in me. It comforts the hiring manager's anxiety. Remember, they're anxious too.
Yeah.
They have quotas, they have budgets, they have bosses breathing down their necks about retention numbers.
That's a perspective we usually forget. We think the interviewer holds all the cards, but they're under pressure to make a good hire, not just any hire.
And a good hire is one that sticks around.
Okay, so we've hugged them with our words and promised to stay forever. Now we have to wrap it up. Step 4, the call to action.
The closer.
The script ends with, I am very interested in this role and look forward to hearing from you. What are the next steps in your hiring process?
Simple, direct, very effective.
Why that question, though? What are the next steps? Sometimes I feel like that's a little aggressive. Like, okay, when are you calling me?
It's not aggressive, it's assertive. And there is a huge psychological difference there.
Break that down for me.
If you don't ask, you leave the room with zero control. They say thanks, you leave, and then you enter the purgatory of the unknown. You're refreshing your email every 5 minutes. You're analyzing their tone of voice. It's torture.
Oh, I live in that purgatory. It's my permanent address.
By asking, what are the next steps? You force a social contract. They have to give you a timeline. We're interviewing 2 more people. We'll probably decide by Friday.
So now I know not to freak out until Saturday.
Exactly. You get your sanity back.
Yeah.
But the source points out something else too. It says asking this question signals a very specific character trait. Being proactive and organized.
How so?
Because you aren't just passively waiting for things to happen to you. You are managing the process. A project manager, going back to our human skills, would never end a meeting without defining the next steps and the action items.
Oh, that is meta. By asking the question, you are demonstrating the job skill right there in the interview.
You are showing them what it's like to work with you. This person clarifies timelines. This person moves the ball forward. It's a totally subconscious signal of competence.
That is really smart. It's not just a logistical question, it's a behavioral sample.
Everything in the interview is a behavioral sample.
Okay, so we've nailed the closing statement. We walked through the 4 steps. We look confident, stable, and human. We click leave meeting, or we walk out to the parking lot. The adrenaline crash hits. We're done. Time for a drink.
Put the drink down. You are not done.
I knew you were going to say that.
The source has a pro tip here that I think is actually the most valuable piece of advice in the whole article. It calls it the parking lot habit, or I guess the laptop shut habit now.
What's the rule?
The second the interview ends, literally the second, you need to write down 3 things you learned during the talk.
3 things. Why immediately? Can't I just decompress for an hour?
No, because of the forgetting curve.
Forgetting?
Yeah, it's a concept in psychology. Your memory of a conversation degrades exponentially in the first hour. You think you'll remember that the hiring manager mentioned their dog's name is Buster, or that they're worried about Q3 compliance, but you won't. The adrenaline wipe is real.
That is so true. I've definitely walked out of a room feeling great, and 10 minutes later I'm like, wait, did they say the team was 6 people or 16?
And you need those details for the follow-up email. The source references a thank you email template, but a template is totally useless if you fill it with generic fluff.
Dear sir, thank you for the job interview. I liked it.
In the trash it goes. But if you write, Dear Sarah, thanks again for the time. I was really interested to learn about how you're handling the Q3 compliance issues we discussed.
That's the listening trick again. It's an encore performance.
It proves consistency. And the source has a very strict timeline on this email, too.
Within a few hours?
Yes. Not the next day. Not within 24 hours. Within a few hours.
Why the rush? I've always heard you should wait a day so you don't look desperate.
Forget that. In 2026, speed is a proxy for enthusiasm and for professionalism. If you send it 2 hours later, you look organized. You look like you went straight to your desk and followed up. If you wait 2 days, you're just another email in the pile.
It keeps the momentum going. It keeps that high note ringing in their ears.
Exactly. It creates a narrative loop. You closed strong in the room, and then you confirmed it in writing before they even finished their lunch.
So let's zoom out a bit. We've torn apart this template. We've analyzed the psychology. What is the big takeaway here about the job market we're heading into? Or I guess the one we're already in?
I think the big shift is reevaluating what impressive even looks like.
How so?
For a long time, impressive meant being the smartest person in the room. It meant dazzle. It meant having the craziest portfolio or the most disruptive ideas. But this source suggests that in 2026, impressive means reassuring.
Reassuring. That's not a very sexy word.
It's not sexy at all, but it is incredibly valuable. In a world of high anxiety, rapid technological change, and expensive turnover, the most impressive thing you can be is a safe bet.
It's almost like the market is tired. Everyone is tired. Recruiters are tired of rehiring. Companies are tired of pivoting. They just want someone who can come in, be a human being, solve the messy problems, and stay.
Stability has become a premium asset. It's the one thing that tech can't promise. An algorithm doesn't have loyalty. An algorithm doesn't care about building a foundation.
So, ironically, the more high-tech the world gets, the more these sort of old-school values like loyalty and steadfastness actually matter.
That really seems to be the trend. We might be moving toward a job market where loyalty and humanity are actually valued higher than just raw technical output.
Which is a huge shift for anyone who has built their career on just being a technical wizard. You have to be a human wizard now, too.
You have to be a person people want to rely on.
Well, that is certainly something to chew on before your next Zoom interview. Don't just prep your answers, prep your exit.
Script the finish line.
And write down the 3 things.
Immediately.
Huge thank you to College Recruiter for the insights on this one. It's a great reminder that sometimes the best way to move forward is to promise you're going to stay put.
And ask for the next steps.
Always ask for the next steps. Thanks for diving in with us. Good luck out there.
See you next time.
This has been From Dorms to Desks, job hunting tips for those early in their careers. A podcast brought to you by College Recruiter job search site, which believes that every student and recent grad deserves a great career. Each episode, we dive into tips, tricks, and insights that will help you land your next part-time, seasonal, internship, or entry-level job. Subscribe to this podcast for free now, so you don't miss an episode, and visit www.collegerecruiter.com to find your next great job.